Something is happening in London right now that you need to see. And if you think this is just about a few stolen items from supermarkets, if you think this is business as usual or just another crime story, you're missing the bigger picture entirely. Tesco stores across London are being hit hard. Really hard. We're not talking about the occasional shoplifter slipping a chocolate bar into their pocket or a teenager making a stupid mistake. We're talking about organized teams walking in during broad daylight, filling bags with everything they can carry, and walking straight back out. Security guards standing by watching. Staff too afraid to intervene. And the worst part, the part that should concern every single person watching this, it's happening again and again, sometimes multiple times in a single day at the exact same location. Britain is facing what experts are now calling a full-blown shoplifting epidemic. The numbers are absolutely staggering. Shoplifting offenses across England and Wales hit around 525,000 in 2025. That's nearly 3 thefts happening every single minute of every single day. Let that sink in for a moment. 3 thefts every minute. That's not a crime problem. That's a complete breakdown of order. In London alone, cases have surged past 100,000, marking an increase of over 40% in just 1 year. 1 year. London now accounts for close to 1/5 of all shoplifting offenses nationwide. This isn't just a crime wave washing over the city. This is something else entirely, something darker and more systematic. Walk through any major shopping district in London these days, and you'll feel it immediately. The atmosphere has changed. The tension is thick enough to cut. Security shutters are coming down earlier each afternoon. Police sirens echo constantly through streets that used to feel safe, streets where families shopped without a second thought. Small disturbances break out seemingly from nowhere as ordinary shoppers stand there watching shelves being cleared right in front of them, unsure whether to intervene, unsure whether it's even safe to make eye contact. Tesco has been hit particularly hard, but they're far from alone in this crisis. In a single 24-hour period, branches of Tesco, B&M, and Poundland were stripped completely bare by repeat offenders who knew exactly what they were doing. Staff members describe a situation that feels completely out of control, a situation where they come to work each day not knowing what they'll face. They say it's happening constantly, day after day, shift after shift, and there's no meaningful security in place to protect them. Workers are frightened. They're intimidated, and they're being left to face this alone while head offices and police departments figure out what to do. By early evening, when most people are finishing work and heading home, the scale becomes impossible to ignore. This is no longer petty theft, no longer individuals acting alone out of desperation. These are coordinated crews operating with military-level precision. They move fast, work in teams with clearly defined roles, and can strip entire shelves in minutes. It's organized, it's efficient, it's brazen. Witnesses describe the same pattern over and over, location after location. Lookouts positioned at store entrances scanning for security or police. Runners filling bags systematically, working down aisles with practice speed. Vehicles waiting outside with engines running, ready for a quick exit. The whole operation can be over in under 5 minutes. Some Tesco locations are being hit repeatedly, sometimes twice in the same day by different crews. Police have a technical term for this: organized retail crime. But if you're standing on those streets, if you're a worker behind that counter, if you're watching it unfold in real time, it feels like something completely different. It feels like a system operating in plain sight, testing boundaries, daring anyone to step in and stop it. The authorities did try to respond with force. Police announced one of the largest retail crime operations launched in recent years. It was meant to send a clear message that this behavior wouldn't be tolerated. More than 110 stores were searched across multiple cities within just days. Officers seized thousands of stolen phones, luxury goods, and cash totaling substantial amounts. Around 30 arrests were made. Hidden basements were uncovered beneath legitimate-looking shops. Back rooms were revealed as massive stockpiles of stolen merchandise still in packaging. It looked like a major victory. Press conferences were held. Success was declared. Until it wasn't. Within days, Most suspects were released back onto the streets, and many of them returned straight back to the same stores, targeting the same locations they'd hit before. Some were back within 48 hours. The message this sent was unmistakable, not just to criminals but to shop workers and the public. Even the biggest police operations struggle to slow this machine down. And the people running it, the ones coordinating these crews, know exactly how far they can push before anything actually happens to them. More importantly, they know that even when something does happen, it's temporary. The pattern becomes even more disturbing, even more shocking when you look at individual cases. Police records reveal one offender alone committed over 90 shoplifting offenses in just a few months. 90 offenses. He targeted the same stores again and again and again. The cycle became almost routine. Arrested, charged, released, then back the next day. Staff recognized him instantly every time he walked through the door. So did the fear in their eyes. Witnesses describe his method clearly. It never varied. Walking confidently, fill a bag with high-value items, threaten staff if anyone approached, then walk out. No disguise to hide his identity. No urgency in his movements. No concern whatsoever about consequences. In one incident that made it into police reports, a Tesco worker was threatened with a knife over goods worth less than 25 pounds. Less than 25 pounds. Another worker was physically assaulted when they tried to call security. Other staff members stepped aside, creating a clear path to the exit, not because they didn't care about stopping theft, not because they weren't doing their jobs, but because they wanted to make it home alive that night to see their families. Security footage reviewed by police shows the same faces returning week after week, month after month. One police officer later admitted something quietly, almost off the record, in a tone that suggested exhaustion and frustration. They're not afraid anymore. And that's when everything changed. The theft didn't stay contained inside the stores. The tensions, the brazenness, the violence, it all spilled beyond the shops and into the streets. Here's where the real damage begins. The damage that goes far beyond stolen merchandise or quarterly loss reports. Retailers across London are now losing an estimated £2 billion per year directly to shoplifting. £2 billion just vanishing from legitimate businesses. But that's only half the story, only the most visible part of the iceberg. Another £1.7 billion is being spent on security measures trying to stem the tide. Cameras covering every angle, professional security guards, reinforced doors and windows, sophisticated alarm systems. In total, retail crime is draining close to £4 billion annually from the economy. And who pays for that? You do. Every single shopper walking into these stores. The cost gets passed on quietly, invisibly, through higher prices, item by item, week by week. That extra 20 pence on bread, that increase in milk prices, the rising cost of basics that people notice but can't quite explain. That's £4 billion being pulled out of the productive economy and redistributed to deal with a problem that shouldn't exist in the first place in a functioning society. As night falls across London, the reports get darker and more concerning. Masked groups move through shopping areas with increasing boldness. Windows are smashed. Shutters are forced down with crowbars. Alarms go off and remain unanswered, ringing into empty streets. In some districts, police arrive late, sometimes 30 or 40 minutes after calls are placed. In others, they don't arrive at all. Police units are overwhelmed beyond capacity. Emergency calls stack up in queues. Officers get pulled from incident to incident, prioritizing only the most serious threats to life, which means violent assaults, domestic incidents, traffic accidents. Everything else, including retail crime, gets pushed down the list of priorities. This leaves shops completely exposed and vulnerable. One Tesco store owner described spending nearly £90,000 on security upgrades after repeated break-ins. New cameras, reinforced glass, security guards during peak hours. The theft continued anyway, barely slowing down. He put it simply and sadly, it's not about stopping crime anymore. It's about surviving it long enough to maybe break even. Many don't survive. Independent shops, already operating on razor-thin profit margins, begin to disappear permanently from high streets that have known them for decades. They can't afford professional security guards at £15 to £20 per hour. They can't absorb repeated losses of thousands of pounds. When their windows get smashed for the third or fourth time and shelves stripped bare, when insurance premiums become unaffordable, they make the painful decision to close their doors for the last time. And it's not just small independent shops anymore, not just the corner stores that big chains were supposedly threatening anyway. Major retail chains, including Tesco, Marks & Spencer, and others, are now warning shareholders and the public of severe financial strain. Rising theft losses, soaring security costs, and falling foot traffic as customers choose to shop elsewhere are pushing even well-known brands with deep pockets toward restructuring, mass store closures, or complete collapse. For some retailers, this isn't about shrinking profits or disappointing quarterly results anymore. It's about basic survival in an environment that's become hostile to legitimate business. Outside on the streets, tensions continue to spill over in ways that feel increasingly unstable. Crowds gather to watch incidents unfold. Phones are raised to record everything. Masked figures move through shuttered streets that should be busy with evening shoppers. What began as organized theft, as purely criminal activity motivated by profit, now resembles something closer to unrest, to disorder that has a social and political dimension. Police lines thin as resources get stretched. Control slips visibly, and anger turns upward toward the government, toward politicians who seem distant from what's happening on the ground. Protesters gather in some areas, accusing officials of losing control of the streets entirely, of abandoning ordinary people to deal with consequences while doing nothing meaningful to stop it. There's no immediate response from authorities, no statement addressing concerns, only silence from government offices. The numbers tell the rest of the story, and they're absolutely brutal. In 2023, more than 10,000 shops closed across Britain. In 2024, nearly 13,000 followed. In 2025, closures are projected to exceed 16,000, with most of them being independent businesses that have served communities for years or even generations. These aren't just shops disappearing from balance sheets. They're jobs for people who need them, local services that communities depend on, community lifelines that hold neighborhoods together. As they vanish one by one, streets grow darker and emptier, foot traffic fades away, and the remaining businesses become even easier targets in a vicious cycle that feeds itself. Retail leaders are warning loudly that this is no longer just an economic issue affecting profit margins. It's become a social crisis that's reshaping communities. What worries many retailers most, what keeps them up at night, isn't even what's happening right now in this moment. It's what comes next. The longer-term shift that's already taking shape as stores close and foot traffic disappears from areas that used to be vibrant. Entire neighborhoods begin to change fundamentally. High streets that once supported cafes where people met friends, pharmacies serving elderly residents, post offices, and essential services start to hollow out until they're unrecognizable. Vacant units remain empty for months, sometimes years, slowly attracting vandalism, illegal activity, rough sleepers, and further disorder that drives even more people away. Insurance becomes another nightmare that compounds everything else. Premiums skyrocket in affected areas as insurers reassess risk. Some insurance providers refuse to offer coverage altogether in high-risk postcodes, effectively redlining entire neighborhoods. For remaining businesses trying to hold on, this becomes yet another cost they cannot absorb. Without insurance, a single break-in, one bad night, can end years of hard work overnight, destroying everything an owner has built. As legitimate businesses withdraw from areas, the presence of authority and normal activity weakens even further. Fewer staff on the streets during the day, fewer customers coming and going, fewer eyes watching, fewer people who care what happens. Local councils are warning that once this tipping point is reached, once an area crosses a certain threshold, Recovery becomes extremely difficult and sometimes impossible without massive intervention. Investment dries up completely as developers and businesses look elsewhere. New businesses actively avoid the area regardless of cheap rent. Property values stagnate or fall, trapping residents. Residents who can adapt by traveling elsewhere to shop, to other neighborhoods that still feel safe, which only accelerates the decline of their own area. What began as retail crime, as a policing and justice issue, has quietly reshaped entire neighborhoods, turning once functional town centers and high streets into spaces that people actively avoid after dark or even during the day. This isn't a temporary shock to the system that will correct itself. This is a structural shift in how communities function. And without decisive intervention from the government, without real consequences for offenders, it becomes self-sustaining. The cycle feeds itself and accelerates. This is no longer just about crime happening inside Tesco stores or any other retailer. It's about what happens when those stores disappear and nothing replaces them. Family-run shops that knew their customers by name, corner stores where kids bought sweets, pharmacies where elderly people got advice, and news agents that served as community hubs. By nights, and in many areas across London, high streets are already dark and empty. Shutters come down earlier and earlier. Foot traffic fades to nothing. Once busy shopping areas begin to feel abandoned and slightly dangerous, which reinforces and accelerates the exact cycle of decline that retailers have been warning about for months. One shopkeeper, a man who'd run his store for 20 years, put it simply and heartbreakingly, "I wasn't beaten by competition. I wasn't beaten by Amazon or big chains. I was beaten by crime. When shops close, jobs vanish from communities that desperately need them. Communities unravel as gathering places disappear. Empty units replace everyday life, the ordinary interactions that make a neighborhood feel like home. And those empty units bring even more crime with them as they signal abandonment. This is the cost that never appears in official statistics or government reports. The slow disappearance of normal life, the erosion of community, the loss of safety and familiarity. And as another row of shutters comes down for the last time, as another shop owner turns the key and walks away from years of work, the question grows louder and more urgent. How many more streets must go dark before something finally changes? Here's what needs to be said clearly, directly, without political spin. This is not a failure of shop workers at Tesco or anywhere else. These people are doing their jobs under impossible circumstances. This is not a failure of communities trying desperately to hold things together. This is a failure of the system itself. A system that delays consequences indefinitely. A system that recycles repeat offenders back onto the streets within hours or days. A system that treats enforcement as optional, as something that happens when convenient, rather than essential to maintaining order. When arrest no longer leads to real consequences. When there's no meaningful removal from the community for repeat offenders who've proven they'll keep offending, the law stops deterring criminal behavior. It becomes background noise. Something people know exists but don't actually fear. Something that can be ignored or worked around. Tesco is just the most visible symptom of something much larger that's broken in British society. The epidemic of shoplifting running wild through London isn't going to stop on its own. It's not going to improve because retailers ask nicely or because communities express concern. It's going to take serious intervention, real consequences that people actually fear, and a complete rethinking of how retail crime is treated by the justice system. If this is happening where you live, if you're seeing the same patterns in your area, you need to know you're not alone. This is spreading to other cities. Share what you're seeing. Stay informed about what's really happening versus what officials claim.